Hello everyone, I am Jessica Beck. Welcome to IELTS Energy TV. Today you are going to hear me and Lindsay talk about this idea that maybe you should do writing task 2 before task 1. There are so many IELTS rumors out there on the internet, guys, and we are here to tell you the truth. So guys, find out if you should do task 1 or task 2 first on test day, and make sure you don't waste your time and you get the highest writing scores. Speaking of scores, guys, you can find out your estimated IELTS band score right now today for free. Take our short quiz. Go to allearsenglish.com/IELTS quiz. All right, enjoy the show. This is an IELTS Energy Podcast, episode 538. Why writing task 2 first is an IELTS fail.
You are listening to the IELTS Energy Podcast from All Ears English. We believe in connection, not perfection, and we're here to show you how to get the score that you need on your next IELTS exam. Find out why our strategies are the most powerful in the IELTS world and get your free video masterclass at allearsenglish.com/INSIDER. Now, let's get to the show.
Today we talk about a student who chose to write task 2 before task 1 and learn why this usually leads to lower scores. You can't game the IELTS system.
Hey Jessica, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It is sunny, but kind of cold. We have a guitar lesson after school, and we have tons of play dates with friends in the next few days.
Cool. That sounds so good. Yeah. That's great.
How are you?
Well, I got back from my trip to Nicaragua on Sunday, and I'm still recovering, catching up from that. I mean, I think this weekend's going to be a catch-up weekend, but I'm going to go skiing next weekend, and that'll be fun.
Awesome.
Take a trip up to Stowe, Vermont, do some snowshoeing and some
fun.
skiing. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, good times.
So many fun plans.
Yeah.
Guys, I know we talk a lot about how important it is to work hard for your scores. You guys have to sacrifice time and effort. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to have a study plan and a schedule, but it is just as important to also schedule the fun time.
Yes, exactly. We have to be human. We have to live our lives, right? I mean, and it'll also help us do our work better, right? When we get back, we feel refreshed, we feel ready.
And plus, if you don't get out in the world and connect with people and live life and do fun stuff, then you're going to have nothing to talk about on the speaking exam. So there's that.
That's so true.
Okay. Guys, we are answering a common writing question today about if you should do task 2 before task 1. Lindsay, do you think that's a good idea? Should students approach things out of order like that?
You know, I really don't like the idea of trying to hack the exam and think that we're smarter than the exam and do things out of order, because the exam was set up in such a way that task 1 makes sense to do first, right? So I would say just don't think you're smarter than the test. That's what we've said on this show before.
Totally. You don't game the system. There's no magic key. There's no magic shortcut that lets you do less work than another person to get a higher score, right? Yes, task 2 is worth twice as much as task 1. But if you don't finish task 1, your score still will not be above a 7, right? You have to do both tasks well to get a 7 or higher. So just realize that first of all. And then also just from a brain's, a cognitive standpoint, I think task 1 is a nice warm up. You don't have to be creative. You cannot be creative at all in task 1. So you're accessing different parts of your brain, right? Yeah. Task 1 is about just choose some numbers and then organize them in a couple paragraphs. Really, guys, if you're in our course, you'll know this. If you're not in our course, then get in our course and you'll see task 1 should be simple. Very clear cut, super simple. So the reason why I thought about this and what we wanted to talk about today was a sort of case study of what could happen if you do task 2 first. So, a few weeks ago on the exam, and I heard this from a student. This is what happened to them. They did task 2 first. And I think if you do task 2 first, you get really involved in it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're creative, you're coming up with ideas and vocabulary. You have to be a lot more flexible in your communication. And so you're not so much paying attention to the time, right?
Right.
Really, that's why you should leave it till last. So you know you have the whole rest of the time for task 2. Instead of this extra like, oh God, when will 20 minutes be left type thing. So, this person totally lost track of time because they did task 2 first. And then when they finished task 2, they realized they had less than 20 minutes left to do task 1. So that causes a panic right away, right? So you're approaching it from not a healthy, calm standpoint to do your best. And so on this task 1, there were 2 graphs. And guys, you know, for task achievement, for a 7 or higher, you have to give the most important numbers from every graph. Whether it's 1 or 2 or 3, the examiner needs to see the most important numbers for each graph, okay? But this person ran out of time. So they were only able to give the key numbers for the first graph. And then when they had like a couple minutes left, they wrote like 1 sentence about the second graph with no numbers. So that really just invalidates what they've already written. Because you know what, guys? Even if you give key numbers for 1 graph, you're still going to get a 5 for task achievement because you didn't give any key numbers for the other one. So it's like they just wasted their time with what they already wrote.
Wrong strategy, right? Bad strategy.
And so how this will affect your scores, guys, the task achievement goes down. Whether you give no numbers or not enough of the important numbers, it's going to be below a 6. Okay. So, I mean, just a waste of time. And then vocabulary as well. If you only describe certain numbers, then you're not going to show the range because you're only going to show, 2 paraphrases for increase or whatever because you're simply not describing enough. So that means your vocab score goes down. And also coherence. I mean, think about how imbalanced this would look if you had like a paragraph about one of the graphs and then you just have like 1 sentence hanging out by itself about another graph. Those aren't organized paragraphs. It's just like random sentences thrown in there. So it lowers all of your scores.
Ooh, okay. So how can we make sure this doesn't happen? First of all, we want to do task 1 first. I mean, that's the first thing. But what else went wrong here?
Hello, IELTS Energy listeners. If you want to know exactly what to expect on test day and how to give the examiner what she or he needs to give you that 7 or higher in speaking, writing, and all the strategies for reading and listening, get into the 3 Keys IELTS Success System. Go to allearsenglish.com/KEYS. I don't think this person had practiced enough before exam day. So that's why they felt like maybe they had to game the system because they hadn't successfully sat down for an hour and completed task 1 and task 2, finished it brought them both to fruition, proofread, done all the steps. They hadn't actually experienced that yet. So they're like, okay, I'm going to take a shortcut and hopefully this will work. And obviously it didn't. So guys, remember, you have to sit down in the 2 weeks before your exam, 2 or 3 times a week. You have to sit down for an hour and do all of task 1, all of task 2, 20 minutes and 40 minutes, in order. So then when you get to the exam, it's an already formed habit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's no way around this, guys. I mean, this is what we have to do. We have to block out this time in our schedules and tell our families, our friends, our children, we need this time. Maybe after our kids are in bed, that is our time for IELTS.
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, it's tough. I get it. Tough. Lindsay gets it. It's tough. Lindsay's gonna sacrifice part of her time this weekend to catching up on work stuff, right? Yeah. Like we have to fit it in somewhere if you have big dreams and big goals. But you gotta stay motivated. Like that's the other part of this. Like if you're approaching your test practice and you're like, ugh, I have to sit down for an hour and write my IELTS essays now. Like if you're approaching it like that, it's not going to be the most effective practice. Find a way to stay motivated. If you are feeling negative about your IELTS practice right now, take 10 minutes, listen to an All Ears English podcast, right? Yep. Listen to something that's more general English. Watch 10 minutes of a sitcom in English. Just sort of get back on the positive side of the language. and then you could go into the IELTS practice.
Exactly. And just be honest with ourselves. Last week or 2 weeks ago before my vacation, I met with a few of our a few students who are actually not in our course yet. Maybe they will be. But, a lot of them, if they weren't putting in the time they should be, they knew it. Like they knew it.
Yeah.
Maybe they were lying to themselves, but deep down they knew that they weren't giving IELTS the time that it deserved.
This came up a couple weeks ago as well. We get, lots of really great questions from you guys. And a lot of the times, like, if you read carefully into the question, this person already knows what they're doing wrong. They just need us to validate it for them and maybe give them one clear, direct step for how to move forward, right? Yeah. But on some level, guys, you already know if you're doing all that you can for IELTS. If you are not feeling confident in any one of your skills or all of your skills, that's because you're not doing your best to improve it. I think it's one thing to know that we're not at the level yet that we have to reach. But if you're working toward that level, if you're actively taking steps to get the scores you need, then you will feel confident because you will know you're improving. But exactly. When we let that fear get in the way, be like, oh, I'm horrible at speaking English, and then we never practice speaking.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with my speaking score? So, guys, a very good way to stay motivated is to get into our course. You can see the student success stories. You could hear them on the podcast. That yes, they put in a lot of hours studying IELTS, guys, but doing it with our system, right? With our lectures and practice, and which are as fun as can be expected when you're doing test prep. You can reach your goals and not have it be a chore. Make it fun. Get the scores you need. Make it fun. Get past IELTS.
Exactly. And when, it's fun to sit down and to know that you're devoting the right amount of time and you know exactly what to do, right? It's one thing. Right. It's great if you're devoting the time you need, 2 hours a day, an hour and a half a day. But what if you don't actually know how to spend that time correctly? That's another problem. And that's the problem that we solve in the course, guys.
Well, I think it's the same idea as trying to game the system for IELTS, right? Trying to take shortcuts that never work out. If you're trying to game the system for test prep, it's also not going to work out. We've talked to students on the show before about their experience previous to taking our course. Some of them studied in language schools. Some of them studied with private tutors, but it still didn't get them to where they needed to be. And for some people, they just tried to get free resources online. And guys, that does not work. So get into our system. It's a simple study plan to follow every day. And you know that everything we ask you to do is directly connected to your IELTS skills. So go to allearsenglish.com/KEYS. Read about the students who have already used the system and never have to take IELTS again, and use that as your inspiration.
Absolutely. And now that we have our double guarantee, right, Jessica, we now will pay for your exam, guys. We don't just refund the cost of the course. We actually refund the cost of your exam if you don't increase your score. That's huge.
Yeah, it's enormous, guys. And obviously we wouldn't do this unless we were 3,000% confident that our system works.
Exactly.
So go to allearsenglish.com/KEYS, guys. You have nothing to lose. You know you need to pass IELTS, right? And you can see that this is the way to do it because other students get 7s, 8s, and 9s from using our strategies. So it's guaranteed to work. Just commit yourself and then you could put it in your schedule. 2 months from now, I will never think about IELTS again.
I love that. That's where we want you guys to be, and we're going to bring you guys to that point. Very cool. All right, Jessica, this has been great. Well, thanks for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show, Lindsay.
That's true, actually. Well, you're welcome. My guest appearance.
It is, right? Because like both of the other episodes this week are other people. So Lindsay's our featured special guest today.
Featured guest. It's good to be a guest.
That's awesome.
All right, very cool. All right, well, we'll see you back here very soon, Jessica. Take care.
All right, sounds good. Have a good weekend, Lindsay.
Bye, you too.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the IELTS Energy Podcast from All Ears English. And if you want to get tips from Lindsay and Jessica every week on how to get a 7 on your next IELTS exam, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your computer or on your smartphone. Thanks again and see you soon.